Check microphone, check, check. Gaming Bob's in the house. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see ya. We're back from the road trip. We had a good time, good wedding. Road show was back in action. Got a question for the viewers here today. Hit me up in the polls. Just want to get to know you and the audience a little better. And what are your financial goals? Why are you watching the show? What mean to you? Where do you fit in the great grand scheme of things? Are you trying just to put a little cash together? Are you just playing for fun? What point are you at in your investment future when it comes to playing the game of Magic? Are you in it for fun? Are you in it for financial value? Are you in it to hand off all your Magic cards to your kids or their kids? Let me know in the comments section. I want to get to know the viewers just a little bit better. This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to take to the polls. Good morning, Gaming Bob. Thanks for watching. How you doing? Oh, we got some folks in the chat. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Who's back? Brody's back. Brody's back from vacay, right? Nah, I was at a wedding. This is Alphonso and I took a couple days off. Got a lot of new subscribers and new patrons and a whole bunch of folks to shout out this morning. It's going to be a good show. I've got some articles for you. There's some interesting new developments in the world of finance. We're going to go over here today. Pre-release happened. March of the Machines happened. I got my pre-release kits here. Here's 2 kits. Brand new pre-release kits, locked and loaded. Going to be doing a little bit of game day one of these weekends with MTG Gaming Bob. So I got these. I've invested some of my hard-earned millennial cash into these 2 pre-release kits. Should be some fun in there, so I can't wait to do that with MTG Gaming Bob. Let's get some folks in the stream, if you know what I mean. Bro Show is back on the scene. We're going to start here in just a second. Welcome everybody to the chat. Hit the button, let you know who. I have a sneaking suspicion because YouTube gives us an algorithm already, and it tells us, you know, who is your audience. So I kind of want to know who's watching. I really do, and that's going to depend on what kind of financial goals you folks have for yourself going forward into 2023. How y'all doing today? We got 3 folks in the chat. Should we start? Wait till we get a couple more votes in here, because getting to know our audience here this morning. Good articles here. I got one from Harvey. Let's put it up. All right. Be a good time. Let's go. Make sure everything is working just fine here this morning. Sure it is. Right on. Good morning, each and every one of you amazing subscribers, fans of Magic the Gathering, the most important folks in the game of Magic the Gathering. Why? Because you join me each and every morning to track the prices of Magic cards. Is there enough information out there, or is there just too much information? You like tracking these prices? Is there enough news to go around? Does you make sense of it all? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day, Monday through Friday, except for the days when I'm not here. I like tracking these prices anyway. So why don't you join me here on the morning show? Give me your chat. Give me your opinion. Weigh in on the conversation. Let me know where it is you're coming from. Are you a player that just plays for casual fun? Are you sick of being left behind when certain cards go up? I can almost guarantee you, if you're not tuning into this channel, by the time the weekend comes around and you're looking for your Magic the Gathering news, we've already talked about it and it's way too late. So if you want to stay up to date, join the conversation, join the bro show, hit that like button. Let's get this conversation going. It helps the algorithm pick us up so that the world knows what we're talking about. There's a plethora of information to go over here this morning. It's April 18th, and I'm on the stream, if you know what I mean. We've got MTG Gaming Bob in the house. We got the fans of Magic the Gathering, some folks, some new developments coming up. I got my ticket for Grand Con, so I'm going, and I bought that ticket. Brody's got a job. Yeah, I'm stuck as a working man for the working man, making Magic the Gathering content just as fast as he can. I do this for fun and for the love of the game. And if you tune in, you can do the same. But if you want to get the fun into your Magic the Gathering collection, if you want to see the value in fun and maybe some financial value grow in your Magic the Gathering collection, would you rather it sitting in your possession rather than the card store or on the shelf getting priced up with inflation? We're going to talk about the cards that can do that for you. We're going to try and make some sense of it all and try and see what we're going to look out for, some pitfalls in the game of Magic the Gathering, some of the mistakes I've made. There's a plenty of them. I'd like to discuss them, share my wins and losses with you folks so you know exactly what it is I'm doing, what I'm up to now. Depending on who you are and when you're born and what your financial goals are, you may have different reasons for watching the show. Maybe you're a boomer, somebody who's held Hasbro stock for 20 or 30, 40 years, since before Magic the Gathering was even a Hasbro product. So that stock has been paying you a dividend for a couple of generations already, a couple of decades, and it's just serving you well. You just don't want anything to change. Everything's just fine the way it is. Or maybe you are somebody who doesn't own a lick of Hasbro stock. Maybe you've been to the bank and you've perhaps looked for a loan, or they've turned you down. Maybe you've tried to, move up in the world, but every time you try and climb out of that bucket, the rest of the crabs drag you down. Maybe you're a young person just trying to get a credit card, or maybe you're just starting your first job. You play Magic the Gathering on the weekends with some friends. You got a little bit extra tip money made from serving waiting tables or bagging groceries. It's something that you just do for fun as a hobby. You look at some of the cards printed in 1993 and 94 and on the reserve list, and you can't really understand why in the world is this costing so much. I can't even get into the market. We're going to help you do that. We're going to help you get into the market if you haven't got into the market yet, where to get in. Talk about entry points, where to get in, or maybe you're looking to get out of the market. Maybe you've been at this for 20 or 30 years. Maybe you're a millennial like my little brother Rudy over there, Funny, that connotation used to have with it a little bit of a funky smell that went with it. Maybe there's somebody who's been investing in Magic the Gathering since you were a little kid. Haven't really taken any profits. You've just been letting your collection grow, or you've sold out a couple of times. Whatever the case may be, whoever you are, let me know where you're coming in from and who you are. Leave me a conversation piece, a comment in the comment section below. I love to get to know each and every one of you and let the conversation grow. Because if you have something to say, I want to hear it. I want to wear it. Let's feel it. Let's go. Let's start off here this morning. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't joined us once before, let's warm up just a little bit. We're going to take a look at the latest and the greatest AI generated Magic cards. What's going on in the world of technology? Well, stuff that we never had when I was a little gaffer. I remember the analog phone and T9 word text messages. Well, now we've got the advent. We're programming the AI, right? Magic cards. These can even put people out of work. So if you're, maybe you're a young person trying to figure out what kind of technology you're going to study, and things are happening so fast, that planned obsolescence, you buy one thing the next day and you got to throw it away and buy something new the next. AI is kind of like that. We're going to just warm up a little bit here. We're going to look at some AI generated magic cards. If the card is any good, even if it's a little overcosted, we're going to pass it. We're going to hear this sound. Bad, not bad. Dinger, the sound of the dinger. And then if the card is no good, if it's busted, if there's any gibberish on the card whatsoever, we're going to fail it. You'll hear this sound. Got a couple of buzzes there. That's right. A little buzzing for my cousin. That's right. So what do we got here? Let's just make sure everything's working right. Can you hear me? Where are you all hailing in from? I hope that some of the viewers, the regular viewers, get a chance to join us. Wherever you are, I want to thank you for joining us here this morning, whether you got me on the dash of the car, next to the coffee pot. Maybe you got Brody in his back pocket. You're getting ready for your day. Wherever you are, you want to get a little bit of magic fun into your collection. Let's do it here this morning with this card. Thon Prep the Urgast. Needs a creature type. I can see that already. A 1 green and 2 for a 3/5 flying with Lifel Spunk. Lifel Spunk. Watch out. Don't get any of that Lifel Spunk on you. Is creatures your Revel tracker. Creatures your Revel tracker. You may put 3 counters on your turn. Get out of here. We don't have time for this. Oh my goodness. If something's no good, you got to just say no. Get rid of it. Reject it. It's got to go. It's something like that. Funny business that's happening in the world. This card's no good. It's full of gibberish. Let's move on. Let's see here. How do you evaluate Thop Prep the Urgas? Fair and playable word salad. I'm going to say word salad. Now, the funny thing about this is like, there's been some people saying that we're going to need to put the brakes on. And like, what does this do for the price of magic cards? Like maybe these AIs can sort of fix things, right? We got game designers that spend days, weeks, months trying to come up with magic cards. They don't always get play tested, but maybe the AI can fix that. Basic land here, or plains. God, I think this is kind of nice. This looks like a plain. It looks almost like a little desert, doesn't it? Starting to get a little hungry. Speaking of desert, let's take a look here. Cosmic Seeds in the morning. All right. If you're checking in just before leaving to work, I want to say thanks. Joining us here, Tom Mitchell's in the house. It wouldn't be a show without you. Tommy Siddons. Okay, boomer. Narset's reversal. Time Capsule in the house. Prime 406 games. Cosmic Seeds. Good morning. Your dates are wrong. 82 is the start of the millennials. By most places that do polls like this, I'm not a millennial. Well, I'm an 81 and not a millennial. I know what you're saying. It's funny because if you go back in time, I have the same argument with some folks about that one. Let's get the chat working here. I love the conversation, right? That's a good comment. It's a really good comment. Let's get the chat rolling here this morning. We're gonna have to pick up on that one. That's a good comment. Because depending who you ask and depending where, if you go back 10 or 20 years ago, they've actually moved the dates on these and the cutoffs, okay? I've seen the cutoff for Gen X being around 84, 85. Some people say 81, so that's a good conversation to have. So depending on where you put the borders, the boundaries on these things have been... Let's pass this planes, shall we? We can carry on with the financial conversation. Let's move on. Plains looks good, doesn't it? How about this one? Whittle Eternus. Whittle Interless. Whittle Interless? Oh, there's some difficult ones to say here. All right, for 1 red and 2, you get a legendary artifact rat. When it enters the battlefield, sack a creature. If you do, create a black Pyrexian horror creature token with this creature gets 1/0 as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. Well, it gets better and better with battles. There's a new card type out there, so that's good. I think we could probably give this one a pass. What do you folks think? The legendary artifact rat? I don't see what it does though. Yeah, no, this isn't good because the Phyrexian horror token it doesn't say what the power and toughness is on it. It's kind of gibberish, isn't it? So wherever you fit into that, there's not a box for every person, right? There's not. I seen the cutoff being around 85. It does say after 81. Let's see here. Okay, so it could be 82. Right? You know, post post 81. So after 81, which will be 82. Also heard. Have you heard of 13ers? That's another one too. So I guess it's just a way of me getting to know my audience. I want to know the audience. Who am I speaking to, right? So if I got a bunch of fogies in the stream, and folks that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I wonder why they're not watching the show, and they should be, right? Because YouTube does that. They often say, "I want to confirm this," and the only way I can do that is by talking to you. So, what are your financial goals, right? So if you're in the boomer generation, maybe you don't want to watch Brody's Morning Magic stocks, right? You've got bigger fish to fry. It means little to you, but you should watch it, even if you are. 73. Okay, we got Boomer in the house. Good, good, good. So we got a little bit of all walks of life. This is a channel. All are welcome here. I want to get the conversation. I want to know who I'm talking to. It's going to help us with, what we talk about, depending on for the day, because some things are not applicable to all people, right? So some people are getting into magic. Some people are getting out of magic. Some people, are halfway through a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. It depends who you are. I want to get to know what each and every one of you are at and who I'm speaking to. Who's the majority? Who's the silent majority that's not saying anything? I think we got to fail this card. This Windus Internalis. How do you evaluate it? I think it's unplayable because we can't tell what the Phyrexian token is. It doesn't say what the stats on the token are. It says an artifact rat, but it doesn't have power and toughness. Let's say unplayable. A little bit of word salad too. I'm gonna get it. All right, how about this one? You guys hungry this morning? Dread burger. All right, dread burger. Let's check it out. 2 mana for green. Sacrifice a human. Draw a card. Ah, he'd be compant. She took a free, but once Pruddles down reconstruction. So it's a burger made out of humans. Sack a human. Draw a card. Kind of gross, eh? Would you be? You want to buy this one? I don't know. Well, if you're a Gen Xer, that includes 1981, so pre-81 and included. And then if you're a boomer, uh, depends where you look. I've looked at a few different I can't find one that we can all agree on because I don't agree on half of them anyway. The millennials in here, some post, it's funny if you consider it. Rudy is a millennial. Okay, so he's like the 90210 millennial. He's the success story of the millennial generation. Our generation, the Gen Xers, you know, kids that grew up, 90s kids that grew up in the 90s, right? Depending on the outcome and what happens in the next couple of years, in the next decade or so, is really going to depend. How I think this card's pretty good. What do you guys think of the Dread Burger? Time capsule. Wait, that makes me a millennial. Meat popsicle. Dread Burger sounds like a forbidden food. I'm a no good filthy jungle rumblers in the house. Can you sacrifice your opponent? I think opponent check. Let's do a turn 0, right? Turn 0 with Dreadburger. Pay a green, sack a human, draw a card. Does that include your opponent? I like it. I like it. All right, let's give this one a pass. It seems fine. All right. Yeah, you know what's funny? There's a stigma that goes with every single one. Yo, 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 I'm an 85. What's that, Gen W? I think that puts you in the millennial section. It does. Same as Rudy. Okay, I see I'm a Gen X. Hellfire. I just want to know if you're yeah. So if you're born in, I don't label myself or think about this time thingy. It isn't real. The flavor on this burger is on point, right? Okay, well, so time capsule, I know there isn't a box that fits everybody and a description that fits everybody, but the point is that there's new people getting into the labor market. There's young generations, and there's younger people making money, contributing to the workforce. I'm working. I'm the working man for the working man. That's that's what I do. I get up every day. I have a job. I try and do something meaningful to society. I put a little bit of money away every time I can. Put some magic cards in the collection. That's what I'm doing. I probably got another 20 years or more of working. Um, you know, to try and churn that system and put other people to work. So it wherever you are, it does kind of affect you, affect people. Time isn't real. I love it. Time capsule. Couple of different types of time. There's lineal time, there's secular time, and then there's different types of thought on time. There's time travel. Let's take one look at one more AI generated magic card before we get into some articles. The folks have all arrived. Standard Pegasus. I just want to kind of get to know the audience and what is your affliction with Magic the Gathering, right? Can you get enough of it? Is it the kind of thing you're going to hand it all off to your kids or their grandkids, or you going to keep it all for yourself? Are you going to fire sale it? When the time is right, when the market hits, when the next boom comes, are you going to be trading Magic cards in on cash? I kind of want to know. Going to tell us where everybody is at. Standard Pegasus 2/2 Bloodthirst. If an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 2/1/1 counters on it. Get a 4/4 for 2 mana, 1 white, and 1. It's also a shapeshifter? Crazy. Got some bad birds on the back of it. It's missing a leg? What is going on? This is creepy. It's got an extra leg, but what is going on? Let's make sure the the look at this. He's missing a leg right here, but then there's an extra leg and another leg over here. It's still got 4, but one is cut off. Some creepy art here on the card. I think we should give it a pass. It seems okay. Bloodthirst? Why not? Pharaoh Pete, 77% of people say it's fair. Right, the chat's working. Everything's tuning in just fine. Folks, it's Brody's back from I went and visited some of the Freetreons, went to a wedding, seen one of my good buddies get hitched. It was a good time. It was nice to spend a little time with some folk, cut loose, step away from the stress of it all. Sometimes you get stuck in a little bit of a rut working wherever you are. Maybe you need a change. If you're happy where you're at, if you're doing exactly what you love, you probably don't have to work a single day in your life. But if you're trying to save for something else, or maybe you want to make a change in your future, you're putting money away, where do you put it? Where are you going to put that money? If you're a young person just getting into their 20s, you're just about old enough to vote, it's your first job, and you're looking around, everyone's got new cars, people have houses, the cost of everything's going up, and you just say, screw it. A little bit of magic cards, maybe a pre-release kit. That's good enough for me. How are you gonna get there, right? How are you gonna make it in this world? It's a tough bracket. It really is. But just so you know, there's people here who are all like-minded. We love the game of Magic the Gathering. We know that there's some fun to be had in our collection. We want to preserve that. So how do we get the cards into our collection that are worth some money down the road? Maybe there's some long-term value or at least some play value. Um, how are you gonna do it? You show up and you show up to F&M, or you show up to a store and you got people playing Legacy. They got dual lands, right? And you're like, oh man, how am I gonna get those dual lands? They're just so far out of reach for or me. And you talk to them. There's some fogies out there like Brody, 40 on 50, 40 years old fogies. And they got dual lands, but cards they bought when they were kids, and maybe they didn't pay much for them, but now they're worth a lot. And you say, "Oh, well, man, you got it made." How do you get there? By the time you get, how are you going to get into those other formats? Do you want to play Legacy? Do you want to play Vintage? Do you want to, maybe Pauper? You got to start somewhere. Let's take a look at some articles in the stock desk today. I got a good one from my bro Harvey McGinnis over the stock desk. He's got the over under from us for April 16th. This one came out the other day. There's a card that's often talked about here on the show. It was on Brody's bottom 10. If you're just tuning in, we have a series called the Bottom 10 Reserve List Cards. And if you're new to Magic, that may be for you. Okay, we've been talking about the bottom 10 cards, and I've been talking about it for a couple of years now since we started the channel. And if you haven't checked out Brody's bottom 10, go back to, even the ones from last year and rewatch these bottom 10. These are reserve list cards that no one cares about, that are about just a couple of dollars. You can get them too. They may not be worth much now, but the way Magic seems to go, I wouldn't be surprised of those Magic cards will be gaining in price. And there's a couple of Magic cards there's a couple of videos we got, one that says price and value are different. We discuss what is price, what is card value, what's it do for you. And one of those cards on the list, I think it was about $3 when we first talked about it. If you bought it, you're probably doing okay. That's card we're going to discuss again today with Harvey. Leeches. And another card from the Ice Age block, like I remember this card, Mystic Remora, a card that wasn't worth playing when it was out in Ice Age. It was in the dumpster. It was a card no one cared about. It cost a little bit too much to play, and then something happened. What happened? A new format was coined called Commander, and then a card that was worth pennies became worth 10 to 20 bucks. Became 10 to 20 bucks overnight. This Mystic Remora card, and it left me, when I got sort of stepped back into Magic, people were asking, they said, Brody, when did you start playing? Did you play during Ice Age? I said, oh yeah, I played during Ice Age. I opened starter decks and booster packs during Ice Age. And they say, do you have Mystic Remora? So I go through my box of collection. I start looking, found 4 or 5 or 6 copies of Mystic Remora. At the time, it was a bulk common, something that nobody even considered playing because of the cost of the value wasn't there. But now with Commander, there's some value to this card, so we're going to talk about it. And has this ever happened to you? And that feels fun when you hold on to something for that type of time, as a little bit of a investment, if you will. If you can get the fun into your collection, keep it there. Sometimes the world of finance is like musical chairs. It goes round and round and round, and when the music stops, you don't want to be caught without a chair. So don't give up your seat. Stay with me, folks. Join the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. I'm going to read this article here. We're going to give our hot take. We're going to check some opinions. It seems that news just keeps coming in the world of Magic. In our latest edition of the Over Under, hot topics were the Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle Earth Commander Masters, Phyrexian All Be One, complete edition bundles. And since then, the market had some time to settle and simmer. And the only tossed around again by the full previews for our next set out, March of the Machine. Got a picture of the Jeweled Lotus here swinging around $100. When are you going to buy the Jeweled Lotus? Does it seem like the folks over at Hasbro, there's those folks, like Magic's 30 years old. Magic is probably older. If you're watching and you're, Gen Y or if you're from the Gen Y, if Magic is older than you are, right? Maybe you're born in 1995 and older. Maybe you're not even 30 years old. See, this is the thing. If those right now, I'm looking at the polls. We got nobody from 95 and older and younger watching. It'd be nice if you would, but they'll come around. So if Magic is older than you are, and it's funny because this is like a buddy of mine wrote a song. It was called "Wasted Youth," right? Too soon old, too late smart, right? If you're somebody who's young and Magic's older than you, and you're continually, does it seem like the system is sort of self-serving? As you pile in your hard-earned money, the prices don't seem to sustain itself. Next thing you know, a card that you paid $100 or $120 for this Jeweled Lotus, next thing you know, it's getting a reprint. Well, the Jeweled Lotus is a bit of a complex case. When we last looked at it, it continues to remain that way. Incredibly expensive card with contemporary Magic standards, with ordinary and extraordinary demand to go along with it. Last month's evaluation saw Jewel Lotus just recently having cratered in price due to news of an upcoming reprint in Commander Masters. Nonetheless, it was argued that it was still overpriced, stressing that while the card would likely again regain some value over the coming months, the eventual reprint would create a window of opportunity with even more supply and is injected into the market. Looking back now and comparing against that analysis, we can see that Jeweled Lotus has begun to reclaim some of its former price glory as the immediate supply dump at the outset of the reprint news has worn off. Now it's up to us to watch in anticipation of Commander Master's full impact on Jewel Lotus value going forward. Something that I noticed over this weekend, I opened a pre-release kit and I thought I did really well. I had some bombs. Brody had some bombs in his pre-release kit. And I was surprised to see that when I was done, and I mean, I had a lot of fun. The play value was very high in my pre-release kit, exponentially high. I had some bombs. I didn't lose a game out of 58 or 60 players. I had no losses. I went 10th, 2 wins, 2 ties. I played somebody who was, shout out to Cole. I played a RCQ champion. He couldn't beat me. And I had a really high fun value. But then when I added up the cards, I looked at it and I was like, this is $2. This is $3. Just the EV, I don't even think it paid for the kit. When I added it all up, thank goodness there was some prizing and that made it a little better. But when you know, the trade-off, when you look at the fun value that I had was very high, but the financial value of the cards that I pulled very low. And that's due to the fact that we've got like draft boosters in there, right? Rather than collector boosters. All the money seems to be in the collector boosters. So let's check this out. It was a little bit perplexing. So has this happened to you? All right, little review here on the enemy fetch land. Last month we argued that the enemy colored fetch lands had bottomed out in price, while the return of competitive play and the massive in-person events offered up the opportunity for the gradual price increases in the long run as more players enter modern, as well as gravitating towards more efficient commander mana bases. Since then, the fetch lands have remained low in price with very little movement in either direction, given that there has been neither enough time for a slow and stable growth in the player base, nor a massive series of tournaments necessary to spur modern play. This price stability can be readily expected. It's going to take some time before the enemy colored fetch lands begin an upward trend, but I continue to believe that their current price is not reflective of the potential demand for these cards. According to Harvey, there couldn't be a better time to pick up some enemy fetch lands. Opportunity, profit, and true Ferengi style. Right? Good morning, Savannah Lion. Thanks for joining the chat. I'm glad you're here. It's a good day. We're going to talk about this card. If you've tuned in since the beginning of the show, I mean, it's good time. We got Ed, the dual brain, my brother from another. Jungle Rumblers in the house. We got Tommy Siddons. Are you sitting on the fence? Have you hit this notification bell? Have you hit the thumbs up? I'm totally a good little worker ant too, right? Maybe you want to put enough scratch together. Maybe you're gonna sell your collection and start a business, right? Maybe you're like, once I get enough money, I'm gonna open my dream business. I want to open a smoothie stand, a food truck or something. It's totally within the realm of possibilities. You want to be able to master your financial destiny. Maybe be a little bit autonomous, or maybe you just want to punch the clock, do your job, be a pro, and then walk away at the end of the day and head on to Friday Night Magic without any regrets. What is your situation? Let's talk about it. Time is on my side. Yes, it is. Tommy Citizen says the Oracle text says if it's been printed in the last 2 years, it gets flying in 1.0. I like it. Dual Brain says you hit the boomer button by accident. No problem. It's just a poll. It lets me know who's watching, because depending on where what age you're at or what group you're in, you're gonna have some different financial goals. Magic's gonna be either new to you or maybe you've been at this for a long time. How you doing, Ed? Nice to see you here. Dual lands and dual brains in the house. Savannah Lion, thanks for joining here. Opportunity, profit, and true Ferengi style. I like it. Amy Bob says, I've given up on the financial value of MTG until WotC changes practices, which I find unlikely until the game suffers greatly. All right, interesting comment. All right, so this is an example, and a lot of people feel this frustration. I get it. So, you're looking at the direction of the game. It's sort of like when I was opening my pre-release kits. I'm like, where's the dollar value? Like I opened the kit and I don't have anything over like $3.50. Like I barely recoup the cost of the pre-release kit, right? And why is that? It sort of goes in line with what Bob is saying. Like it's designed that way because there's people that have worked there for like 30 years, right? There's people who have worked at WotC for 30 years. There has to be people that have been on board since the beginning of Wizards of the Coast and now are owned by Hasbro, and they've got the system set up exactly the way they like it, and they don't want to change it because if they do, it's against their greater interests. So until like the younger generation looks for some change or demands some change or refuses to buy the products until there is some change, that's not going to happen, right? If you can understand that, like why did Brody go to pre-release and get $7 in value out of his $40 pre-release kit? Because that is like that's being a good little consumer. It serves the WotC machine and the old boys who've been, in game design and been around the block and know the ways of maximizing profits, and they're able to trick you into throwing your hard-earned money into something that actually has little to no financial value, but the play value may be there, right? Unless you're buying collector packs, but I don't like I could see some young folks at pre-release that would be able to come up with $40 for a pre-release kit, but they can't. It's that or $36 for a collector booster. So I can totally sense the frustration as a young person. And you're like, $40 is probably is a lot of money, right? That's a bunch of that's like, you're working for that. If you're making minimum wage, by the time taxes and everything else, you walk in, you go into the store and you're like, well, I've got the choice between playing pre-release and buying a pre-release kit or one collector booster, and I can sit on the side, and then I get like maybe a chance of getting a hit in that collector boost. I mean, can you see what's going? It creates a disparity, and people are like, "Why is that?" It's designed that way by folks who work there, who have studied this system for a long time, and they've put it into practice. And it serves them very well because when they go to retire, they're gonna have they're gonna be taken care of, right? Well, speaking of getting taken care of, let's talk about a card that was on the bottom 10 last year. I know we talked about it when it was just a couple of dollars. We're going back to, even I'll have to check the date on it, but it was 2020, 2021 when this card was on the bottom 10. It was $3. And I hope anybody who's watching, maybe a young, like this is the thing, you're like, who do you make this show for, Brody? The show is for everybody. Everybody is welcome here. If you're new to Magic, watch the bottom 10, look at some of these cards, and if you can, set aside $1 or two for some of those cards on the bottom 10 because it's something that's not taught this day and age of instant gratification where, you buy something one day and the next day the price go up. That is a fallacy. It's like it's really rare and it's hard to to know what to pick because you got to be time timing the market. So, but put some time in the market. If you're going to stick with Magic for a while, say you a couple of years ago, you're like Twiddler. You bought 11 copies of Leeches at $4 for $44. Well, at this point in time, now you're sitting on a $20 or $30 card. Maybe you can go in and get yourself a couple of collector boosters. Maybe increase the cost of the value of your collection. So let's take a look at a card that's now $18.48. It was on the bottom of 10 of the reserve list a couple of years ago. We picked up a couple of copies, and so did some other folks. But if you missed out on that, don't worry. There's going to be a new bottom 10 coming out each and every month with my favorite picks, and just give it some time, because Brody's saying it once before and he said it again. Why chase the new products when that's designed by a group of folks that are just trying to get into your wallet and separate you from your hard-earned money? Why not preserve that fun into your collection by looking at some of these reserve list cards that are just $1 or $2? Give it a little bit of time and maybe the price will go up. Leeches is a unique effect within all of Magic, and it's a reserve list card. And on top of that, Mark Rosewater has even said that this card was a mistake. Well, I take that as a good indication that this card has got some value to it. So how on earth could it be overvalued? Well, as much as I love the wacky one of effects and old Magic cards, most of the time it simply isn't enough of a case to justify the long-term value of a card, and Leeches is a textbook case of this. Let's break down each of these two promising characteristics of Leeches to try and understand what's gone wrong and led to its overvaluation. First up, so this sounds like it could be somebody who doesn't have any copies of Leeches. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and if you're holding copies of Leeches, selling them into the market or trading them in for $20, it probably feels pretty good. But if you're, what Harvey is saying here is, be wary of this card because it is likely overvalued in his opinion. So when we break it down, there's two promising characteristics to try and understand what's gone wrong with this card and led to its overvaluation. First up is the effect. All right. The effect that Leeches is a one-stop answer for removing poison counters from players. While this may sound promising, a little digging will lead to two problematic revelations. First of all, the majority of competitive infect decks either run rampant in formats where Leeches can be played due to set restrictions, or in the case of broader strategy-specific problem, the decks are so finely tuned that once you have any poison counters, you will have already lost the game. So it means like a lot of decks that Harvey's talking about is if they can give you one poison counter, they're going to proliferate that to give you enough to lose the game anyway, and you won't have a chance to get this off. So this means that the play demand for Leeches is incredibly low, as its opportunities for use are slim to none, despite being a one-of effect. Next, the reserve list status of this card. I'm so excited to read this article from Harvey. I've been talking about it all weekend. I saw he posted it. So, Leeches is a card from the Homeland set, meaning that print runs in this era were very high, and it puts into the third tier of reserve list cards, which suffer from price swings, not due to player nor investor demand, but rather market speculation. As such, the reserve list designation does less to place the card into a category of gradual appreciation, and more so within a group of cards highly vulnerable to long-lasting and unpredictable price swing. Is this an unpredictable price swing? Yes and no. For the fact that nobody knows when Wizards is going to reprint a mechanic like Infect or Toxic, which make a card like this go up. So this becomes an anomaly. And nobody knows when Wizards is going to take a revisit to a card like Phasing in full swing and print more than just one or a couple of cards with Phasing that makes cards on the reserve list with Phasing interaction go up. At a first glance, Leeches is a promising pick. It's a reserve list card, which has a unique effect. When evaluated more critically, it becomes apparent that the current price level of Leeches is unsustainable, that the card spiked when more poison counter discourse dominated Magic community and is likely to erode back down to pre-spike levels in the coming months, if not weeks to follow. All right. A little conversation about it. Here's a little bit of a slap of reality, a dose of reality from Harvey, saying that even though this card is $18, it's got a high print run because it's from home last. Regardless, is on the reserve list. Probably lost to Infect before you can cast this, but it is what it is. If you are sitting on copies of Leeches, now might be a time to trade one of them in to pay for the playset. That's what I'm talking about. Like, why not? Regardless of people hating on the card and saying like it's overvalued, if you've got copies of it, now would be a time to maybe think about selling one or two of them or buy listing it, right? You can always buy list this back to the store you bought it for 4 times the price to cover the cost of the playset. So that's the play before it comes back down. Next up, a card, Mystic Remora. All right, let's see here. Very, very interested to see that Mystic Remora got a reprint. It was from Ice Age, and it was common. It got really, really popular in Commander, and it never saw a reprint since. So now Wizards is going back to the well. Those folks in the Ivory Tower who are, looking at ways to add up a retirement fund for themselves after 40 years of service at Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. Cards like this play really well into their hand because they can add them into new sets in order to make sales go up, right? So are they looking at the long-term value of Mystic Remora for themselves, or is it something that has reprint equity that they can put into a remastered set and increase sales? Well, while it's not as exciting or intricate as Leeches, Mystic Remora is a tried and true staple of Magic's largest and most popular format, Commander. Beyond that, the card has only had 3 printings, the first of which was in a debut years ago in Decades, the second was in a secret lair, and the third was via a specially set Dominaria Remastered. The point here is that Mystic Remora has been incredibly high in demand since the limited supply. While it may be less universal than that of the fetch lands, as discussed last week, that should not be misunderstood so as to cause us to overlook Mystic Remora. So let's look at this enchantment card, right? You got 1 mana, a blue, and it's got a cumulative upkeep on 1. So turn 1 Mystic Remora, you play it for 1, and then it comes around, and on your first upkeep, you got to pay 1. So in a 4-player game, a turn 1 Mystic Remora is really good because whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 4. And if it's the first turn of the game, and there's multiple turns because there's multiple opponents, there's no way anybody's going to be able to pay 4. This could be even better than a turn ring 1 Soul Ring because the amount of card advantage that it's going to give you. Whenever opponent, so then you could pay for it with the 1 mana that you use to cast it, so it can go around again. So 2 turn cycles, this card can net you 6 cards for the low cost of 1 mana. No wonder it was super good. Take a moment to look more broadly at the market condition of this card. It's important to be aware that the recent of Mystic Remora's latest reprint and Dominaria Remastered has only been in circulation for a few months now, and while it's a specialty release, the increased price of booster packs can only do so much to retain the price of single cards within it. As such, it will likely be in the long run that we see Mystic Remora appreciate to its reprint highs, as opposed to a dramatic near-term swing. Even so, if you've never picked up Mystic Remora, now's the time to do so. The card's bottomed out, but it's still as excellent as ever. So Mystic Remora, echoing sort of what I already said, Harvey's considering this card a little bit of reprint equity, I would say. It's worth noting that it's been upshifted to rare, so this is now a rare. Morning Super Backer, morning Kyle Perdon, morning MTG Gaming Bob. All the folks are here. If you want to weigh in on the conversation, I'd just like to get to know the audience a little bit. So lots of lots of folks like Rudy in the house. So 67% of you folks are Rudies. generation. And then they got 20% in the Gen X or just a little bit before that. People are like 40 years plus. We got a couple of older folks in the house, people who are a little wise in the world and seen a few things happen. And then there's like little to no young people in the conversation here today. So I want to appreciate you folks for a minute who join in each and every day. It'd be nice to see perspective from all folks, all walks of life. And if I do my job right, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell. Let's try and get a little bit uh, more of a rounded out sort of a foray of community here. So I wonder, like this same YouTube does this. Like YouTube basically says, it'll tell you who's your audience, right? Who's watching you. It'll give you the age demographics. And I wonder who's watching Rudy. Cousin Jimmy says, it makes sense that there aren't kiddos here right now. They're in school, not sucking down their third coffee, looking at spreadsheets. That totally makes sense, right? Right. I don't want to see any kids in the chat. I don't want to see you here. Get to school, right? Good point. Excellent point, right? But I look at the algorithm. Maybe they're gonna have to catch it on the replay, right? So happy birthday, Bob. Is it what? Just got 1 year older today. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just hold on a second. Right. Something just happened here in the stream. Something pretty interesting. Before we get to our movers and the shakers here this morning, I want to say happy birthday to Bob here. Ah, your birthday today, is it, Bob? Happy birthday, Bob. It's not gonna let us do it. Happy birthday, MTG Gaming Bob. Ah. Sorry if you guys are scared of clowns. You know what time it is. It's time for the movers and the shakers here this morning. I know why you folks tune in. I do get some folks. What's today? Tuesday? What are we gonna do? All right, Modern was Monday. I wasn't here. Tuesday, let's take a look at the movers and the shakers here this morning. Standard, is standard even a thing? What do we want to take a look at here this morning? Happy birthday, Bob. I'm super glad you joined us here. Adults only, right? If you folks are catching the replay, maybe there's Modern Tuesday, Robert O'Brien. All right, let's do it. Robert O'Brien wants us to catch Modern Tuesday. Let's do it. 1 year more handsome today, MTG Gaming Bob, for sure. Do it. All right. Let's do Modern. We missed it yesterday. What's new in the world of Modern, right? You guys ready to move and shake? It's Brody with your movers and the shakers here in the morning. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Let me do it for you. We're here each and every morning. We're doing it with the folks in the chat. Robert O'Brien, MTG Gaming Bob's here on the birthday. It's April 18th. Thanks a lot. Wow, your title today's the 18th. Title says the 19th. So facto. Let's hit it one more time here. Lost a day in travel. There, should be fixed. All better now. All right, who's ready to run the movers and the shakers here this morning? These are your movers and your shakers here for April 18th, 2023. I want to thank all you folks for joining me here this morning for a little Magic Stocks and Magic Talks. Getting to know the viewers here this morning. I learned something today. I do want to know who's watching. All right, and hopefully you folks do too. Different strokes for different folks. Different things mean different things to financial goals to different people in different categories. What is it? Are you just interested in getting a little fun into your Magic the Gathering collection? Are you trying to make some money? Do you want to, hold on for 5 years and then I'm selling absolutely everything? I'm out. You have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, maybe a 1-year plan. Maybe you're just going to throw it all in the dumpster, give it up tomorrow. But these are your movers and the shakers for today, April 18th. Thanks for joining me here this morning. Coming in at the top of the list, a card for $100. Here's a $100 bill, doubling season. A card that's seen more reprints than Mark Rosewater's cousin. This card is a card that Wizards of the Coast can keep going back to put into decks and pre-release kits and commander decks. We got Ravnica, Judge promo, we got Double Masters, we got a bunch of different printings of this card. Modern Masters, Battle Bond. $100 bill for this card. If you open it, holy smokes. A tabby. Holy moly. Kylan Perdon, a kid opened a tabby out of our... What? Kidder opened a tabernacle out of that on my brother's shop on Long Island. Nice! Holy smokes, eh? Fixed it. Damn Area United is the new Amazon dump already. You have collector boxes at 150. You can get Lost Legends from a warehouse, but you can get Lost Legends from a warehouse. Congratulations. That's got to be a pretty sweet tabernacle. Doubling season, a card for 96 bucks. Modern Masters version. Let's take a look at all printings here. The Judge promo is 132. $159 for the doubling season from Double Masters. Double. Look at the art on this card. It's kind of the cutest version, if you ask me. Something worth talking about. Just before we get into our movers and the shakers here this morning, I just wanted... There's one more article I wanted to just read for you guys folks here. Earnings season is on its way. All right, just so you guys are aware, earnings season is heating up this week as investors shift their focus from banking to other sectors of the economy, and the U.S. indices closed higher on Monday with a stronger than expected quarter-one result at Charles Schwab. They outweighed lower fee revenues and shrinking deposits, so Goldman Sachs will follow up with their quarterly figures this morning before the earnings parade brings out streaming heavyweight Netflix after the bell. All right, so earnings for the S&P 500 companies are expected to have declined 5% year over year in the first quarter, according to data from Refinitiv Marketing, and second executive drop over the years of earnings growth. So, just so you folks are aware, there is what was that? Just so you folks are aware, earnings reports will be coming out very soon for all the major companies, including Hasbro. Prior to the earnings recession started in 2020 quarter two, last three quarters from start to finish in today's earnings. A few seconds ago, Brandon Carl has subscribed. Right on. That's pretty cool. I just got a notification. Thanks, Brandon. Let me just say good morning to Brandon Carl. Hey, Brandon, let's go. Thanks for joining me on the stream here this morning. I want to say thanks. Would everybody in the chat please give a warm welcome to Brandon? Welcome, Brandon, to the show. I'm glad that you are joining us. If you can hit the comment section with whatever you want to put in there, if you got a question, you want to join in on the chat, all are welcome here. I want to thank Brandon Carl for joining us, and I hope the viewers give Brandon a warm welcome. Thanks for joining us here on the morning show. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards, Brandon? Let me do it for you. We'll try and laugh, have a little bit of a good time, maybe tell a joke or two. What are you interested in? What is the format of choice? Are you a modern player? Do you like standard, commander only? Do you like sealed? Or what is it that what is it that does it for you? Who are you? What's the format of choice? What do you want out of Magic the Gathering other than a little bit of fun? Are you looking to preserve some value in your collection? Either way, thanks for joining us and getting involved in the channel. There's 266 subscribers, and Brandon, you could be number 267, the most highest quality subscribers in the game, in the world, in the universe. I thank each and every one of you for joining me here, having a little bit of a meaningful conversation this morning, getting to know the audience, getting to know a little bit about the game, what brings us back each and every time. Get a little bit more cardboard on the table. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you. These are your movers and the shakers here this morning, Brandon. It's Gaming Bob's birthday. We're just a big fun family, a network of folks who like to enjoy the game. You know, these things cost money. It's nice when the fun is in the fun value and the cost is in your collection rather than sitting at the showcase of the store. Maybe double masters. Uh, Here's a card now, like one of the viewers, Benson. Okay, so you can hit me up on the Discord. You can check us all out there. We do hang out messaging. There's lots of communication happening behind the scenes, not just on the live stream or on YouTube. But here's a card that I want to. I cannot mention this card without talking to Benson. So there's a fella in the chat. If you haven't checked out his channel already, if you like combo tech, if you like some shorts, Benson's been making some really interesting Magic the Gathering videos over the last little bit. I think he's growing his subscriber count. People are enjoying that content over there, and I am enjoying it too. A fella who's got a mind for tech. I like the tech. We talk tech in this channel quite a bit when we review new sets, what cards work good. And here's a card that Benson brought up to me, and I like to cover this stuff on YouTube where we can get it out to as many people out there, from younger players, older players, newer players. I mean, this is a fun card. If you like Kithkins, and I know Gaming Bob is a fan of Kithkins, this is a card that we talked about when the Herald of Hoofbeats was spoiled. This card is blowing up in price. It's $27. It's a Kithkin Knight. It's Kinsbill Cavalier. This card, I think when Benson was talking about it, I was sleeping at the time. It was only a couple of bucks, but now it's a Morning Tide card. And the foil version, I just want to check, what's the foil version? $40 for the foil version. Night creatures you control have double strike. If you caught the Herald of Hoof, and this is what I'm talking about, like, wouldn't you rather be paying like when we've reviewed the Herald of Hoofbeats and all the card interactions? This is a card that Benson, the comments, you folks brought it up. I didn't play during Morning Tide. I was taking a set off. I didn't open any of it, so it's not a card that was fresh in my mind. But Benson brought it up on the live stream and on the Discord. We talked about it. It was about $4. This card's spiking in price. It's up to about 27 now. Quite expensive. Even the foil version is worth a lot. Let's Brody just wants to draw lines on charts. Just say it with me here. This is all I want to do. You know,
Buy low, sell high, that's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy.
right. Buy low, sell high. That's right. If you I love it when cards go up in price and they're already on the way to me. That's how fast the that's how fast things change in this market. Cousin Jimmy says, "Sell the Kinsbill Cavalier." It screams for a reprint at this point, right? So if you're counting your blessings, you get involved in the conversation. There's some good tech, and when a card is spoiled like the Herald of Hoofbeats, a card like this just makes sense. For 2 mana, you get some Kithkin tribal. This card could even be more popular. We get some more Kithkin support, and I think we do. Holy cannoli! This card's at $40. Knights you control have double strike, so a knight deck that makes knights and gives horsemanship. The Kinsbill Cavalier is now topping the charts as your number 2 mover and shaker here this week. And I hate to say Benson told you so, but we did tell you folks about a couple of weeks ago when we looked at the Herald of Hoofbeats, and now it's just this is one of the reasons we come here and check out the movers and the shakers to see how we're doing. Right? Did we talk about that card? Did we miss it? I hate missing it. It's like you see a card appear on the movers and the shakers list, doubling or tripling in price. You go, why on earth is that? What did I miss? But when it's a card like Kinsbill Cavalier and we covered it, if hopefully some folks were able to pick up a copy before they got sold out. The minute that Herald of Hoofbeats was spoiled, we did a tech video on it, tried to cover all the interactions of the cards that would go with it. And that card's definitely one of them. So I like to. So I'm not mad. I see it here on the movers and the shakers list. I didn't buy it. Disclaimer, disclaimer. I talked about it. I give props to Benson. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But I didn't buy it. I was too busy picking up other things, and I've got some mail opening videos to put together for you folks. So I'm going to show you what I've been buying. Kithkins are super cool. Thanks for joining Dr. Timmy's Emporium. Another card on the list here, Darksteel Forge. Let's take a look here real quick. Another one of your movers and the shakers here. This is from Darksteel. It's made of Darksteel. How many printings? You got a double. This is like some reprint equity, right? So like the folks at Wizards of the Coast that are really want that stock price to keep going up. Maybe they've been there 20 or 30 years. A card like Mystic Remora, Darksteel Forge, doubling season. It's all reprint equity. That's bonus money, right? How much of a bonus? How much lobbying goes on behind the doors of Wizards of the Coast? So, putting a card in there to push a set. If the set's a real stinker, we can always throw a copy of doubling season in there. Let's look at the chart on this one. Darksteel Forge. Let's drag it back. Darksteel Forge. I know there was some tech with this card. Yeah, look at it here. We got a spike. Flag on the play. So we talked about flags. These usually happen in threes. So here's one here. Let's go with pink because Brody likes to put lines on charts so you can see. So here's a flag on the play. The first leg up in price. If you bought it before the first leg up, right here, you'd be doing pretty well. If this doesn't see another reprint, it's probably going to see another spike leg up in price. Card could probably go as high as $60. Artifacts you control have indestructible. It's popular now because of Urtet. Also, Brea the Ethereum Shaper deck is playing it. A bunch of commander builds with Urza the Lord High Artificer. It's popular simply because the construct tokens that it makes, Brea with the Thopter tokens, and Urtet with the mirrors. And even this other Urza deck with the Lord High and the Chief Artificer, any Juggernaut decks and the Battle Thopter. This Battle Thopter deck, let's take a look at it for a second. This is an artifact deck. Battlethopter is the one from Brothers War that makes it. Gives your artifact creature flash, I believe. Yes, 3 mana. And then you may cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Then this deck is running cards like the Hangerback Walker, Stone Coil Serpent, Hope of Girapur, Mirror Convert, and a lot of cheap artifacts that all gain indestructible when you hit the Darksteel Forge battlefield. Pretty cool mechanic, pretty cool tech, and a card that's really good in colorless builds. Again, worth noting, we are looking at the modern list, but this is a definitely commander card. Brennan 6. Legal in modern. Alright, this 2 mana planeswalker. $58. And I believe it was as high as 100. The foil version from Double Masters is $134. For a 2 mana planeswalker, this sucker's been as high as $100. It did see a banning, which dropped it down in price to about 55. Indomitable Creativity is doing it. Any decks that have retrace, where you can return a land to your card, because let's read it. This 2 mana planeswalker says +1, return up to 1 target land card from your graveyard to your hand. So recursion for your lands. If you can play a Souza, the Lost But Seeking, you can play multiple lands a turn. You can use this to multiple recursions of Strip Mine, Wasteland, Ghost Quarter, Field of Ruin, and just try and land destroy your opponents to death. If you can play multiple lands. Oh, 420 stream tomorrow? Yeah, Tommy Siddons, you bet. We'll have we will. Sunfall from March of Machines looks like it could be a $10 card. It's a Wrath that exiles and gives you a pretty big dude. Let's check it out. Sunfall. Cousin Jimmy wants me to look up a card. I want to do it. Thursday. Okay. Let's see here. Thursday. You're gonna have to roll that up and just hold on to it a day longer. Okay, Sunfall. 5 mana. So it's Wrath mana. Sorcery. Exile all creatures, incubate X, where X is the number of creatures exiled this way. Create an incubator token with the 1/1 counter. Transform it. You get to incubate X. Well, so this is like, remember Fumigate, where you destroyed all creatures and then you got a life for every one of them? This seems good, like in a token deck, right? So like Fumigate, you'd fumigate the board and gain 1 life for everything that died. In a tokens deck or a deck that has a lot of little dudes in it, like this thing, Sunfall, you exile everything, then you get X incubator tokens. And then if you can make them tap for mana, maybe you drop an Urza, so then now they convoke, or they can tap for blue. This seems like a pretty decent card. What's this one at? $1.97? That's a pretty good pick there, Cousin Jimmy. Freemaz, a Blight of the Orezcos, Elish Norn. Pretty good card, a board wipe. You figure $10 for that one? Well, when it hits $10, I'll be sure to be giving you props here on the show. Good call there, Mr. Good call. My cousin Jimmy giving a shout out to that card. What a beauty. That is an interesting card. Gemstone Caverns. Here's another card that was added to the Time Shifted. It's a lucky card. Like, Magic is a silly game out of anything else. It is a game of luck. It's not, like 2 games that I tied at pre-release, I lost the dice roll. So like the games that I won the dice roll. So there's a couple, if you want my honest opinion, there's a couple of very important factors in Magic the Gathering. One, the very most important factor when you sit down to play a game of Magic the Gathering is a shuffle. A good shuffle and a good randomization. I cannot overstate this enough. The most important thing, in my opinion, for sitting down and having a good game of Magic is a proper randomization and a good shuffle. Get good at shuffling, get good at randomizing your deck. And I don't mean stacking your deck. I don't mean reordering it and weaving mana. I mean really get good at shuffling and randomizing it, because a good randomized deck will make the difference between a good game of Magic and a bad game of Magic. Nothing feels worse when you don't randomize your deck between games and you get mana screwed or flooded because you got a bad randomization. Number two, it is a game of luck. Anybody that I've ever run into who's won a major event, this is what they've told me. It was like I couldn't lose. Everything was going my way. I hit my dice rolls, I hit my matchups, and I had the nut draw in each one of my games. So you literally are fooling yourself. Like there is the luck factor in Magic. If you're an honest player, like you got to consider there's people out there that, maybe draw cards from the bottom of their deck, but like there is luck involved. So if to win at Magic, you got to be a little lucky at times. Some people say, I'd rather be lucky than good. And when luck is on your side, there's no telling what may happen. I'll tell you, I hit in my pre-release, I was dead to rights to Elspeth. Okay, here's what happened. Dead to rights to Elspeth. My opponent's got Elspeth on the battlefield. I've got a 1/1 creature that taps and gives one of my creatures haste, and I'm ripping lands off the top of my deck until I hit Italy. So I play Italy on the battlefield, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I get a 7/7 that uh, I can equip the beat stick to give it +1/0 when menace and give it haste. But when a tally hits the battlefield, we get to exile cards off of each of our decks until a permanent comes into play. Put it on the battlefield. What do I hit? I hit off my opponent's deck the creature that gives all creatures with mana value of an odd mana value double damage. So then my tally off my opponent's deck. And I was dead to rights until I swung for 16 trample with a tally and ended the game. So anything can happen. You build your own luck. And this is a card that does just that. Gemstone Caverns, legendary land. If it's in your opening hand and you're not the starting player, you get to begin with it on the battlefield. This works good when you have two of these in your hand. Okay, some people run just one of these in a deck. I usually run two or three. Just in case I get two of them in my open hand, I'm going to pitch one. If it's in your opening hand, you get to begin the game with a luck counter on it. I was playing this in turns where I was counting on having bad luck. Like this only works if you're planning on losing the dice roll, or even if you win the dice roll, so you can hedge yourself. Like I've played this card in a deck, in a turns deck, and even if I won the dice roll, I would let my opponent go first. I'd be like, and they're like, "What? You're gonna take the draw?" And I'm like, "Yeah." In a turns deck, I want to take the draw because I want the extra card, and if this card's in my opening hand, I can steal the play. And it's also fun when your opponent gets ready to go and you say, "Wait, I have pre-game effects." What's Tommy Sidden said? First thing I do is intimidate my opponent and tell them that they are a noob and that they will never be as good as me. I had a Mistral tribe and I got a Mythic Tribal in pre-release. Got Ragavan, Ren, Invasion of New Phyrexia, and Aurelia, and it was way too spicy. That's awesome. I love it. The first thing I do is tell them they're a noob and not as good. That's funny, right? Okay, Overgrown Tomb. Again, fetch lands. This is what Harvey was saying. If you haven't picked up yourself some enemy fetch lands, when I see one of them on here, or no, this is a shock land, rather. This goes with get yourself some enemy fetches, right? If you if you yeah, talking about luck, right? If you haven't picked up an enemy fetch, maybe now's the time to pick one up. You can fetch up your Overgrown Tombs. That's a decent pickup. And Conda Lord of Vigiano. Let's take a look at a card here. This one's 5/7 mana. Vigilance for a 3/3 Bushido 5. When it blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +5/5. So it gets to be an 8/8 and is indestructible. Conda Lord of Vigiano, Human Samurai. Why is this card spiking? Ishin, Two Heavens is 1. Greyu, Storm's Edge. Go to the Unifier. Let's see. Ishin. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that triggers an additional time. Why is Conda Lord of Ijano spiking? I don't know, but I am gonna find out. Is it that good? Is Human Samurai Tribal going to be a thing? The first thing I do as a tournament is not go to it. Thanks, Bob. A little bit of research to be done. Archive Trap. There's another one, Mindbreak Trap, which is spiking. It's about $50. That one's expensive. I have a couple of copies of this one. How much is the foil? $30. These trap cards, pretty pretty great card. If an opponent searched their library this turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay Archive Trap's mana cost. They mill 13 cards into their graveyard. This is a good card to play against Thassa's Oracle. All right, I would say I always want to hold on to at least a couple of copies of this because if I go to a tournament and it's Legacy, or if somebody's playing Thassa's Oracle, I want to bring in this card. It's good tech. It's good sideboard tech. I guess you could play it in mill, like, multiple archive traps and try and mill your opponent out. But in a against Doomsday and against Thassa's Oracle, this card becomes really good because they're, of course, with Doomsday, they're going to be searching their deck. Thassa's Oracle card, they're going to be searching your deck. So you wait for them to reorder their graveyard with their win condition. And then this is a gotcha card. So this card is going to see good played in mill. It's played in prison shops. Modern Mill, Demir Mill is playing it, of course. And then all the other cards in Vintage are playing it as sideboard tech against Doomsday. Chalice of the Void. Here's another card that's more reprint equity. The card always seems to get some equity. OG, the time shifted board. What was the border called? Somebody in the comment section told me they should be calling them Nemesis borders, or who was that in the comment section that was telling what border did we see this in? They call it retro frame, right? Artifact, but it's actually the first time we saw this border. What was it? Was it Nemesis? Was it Ons? Where did we see it? I can't remember. There was good conversation. Somebody, I can't remember it. I wish I could. Should have wrote it down, Brody. Chalice of the Void, seeing plenty of reprints, Double Masters, Modern, Mirrodin, original Mirrodin. I remember I had the original Mirrodin, one of these. It's only $57. Oh my goodness. Where decks using it? 4-color Omnath. Furfolk, 8 cast, Tron Legacy. Worth noting, like, you can cast Chalice for 0. Exodus border. Thank you, Fentalio. That's the man with the plan. Fentalio says they should call this Exodus border. I like it. That was that. See, I remember you mentioned it there, Fentalio. Thanks for joining. Thanks for reminding me. Exodus border. Write that down. Exodus. Awesome. So the Exodus border in Time Shifted is worth the most. It's $200 in foil, slight short of the Kaladesh Invention border. And one thing that I thought was interesting that I wanted to see, especially in this set, this drew me into this set, was the new borders. And I am totally saw this coming. That the Halo foil borders, they did revisit the Kaladesh Invention, like, border, but it's not the same foil treatment, and the non-foil cards don't look as beautiful as the original Kaladesh Invention foil borders. And in my humble opinion, what do you guys think about the 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 border, the Halo foil border in this revisiting of the Kaladesh Invention border? To me, the Kaladesh inventions still are nicer than any of the ones that are printed in the Halo foil version, even though the serialized cards are worth a lot of money. You put them next to the original Kaladesh borders, and that's what I wanted to do, to see how they hold up and how they measure up and what one looks better. And I still like the original Kaladesh one better. So it's kind of a relief in a way that they maybe either couldn't duplicate that or chose not to. But interesting conversation. I don't think it's going to affect the price of Kaladesh inventions at all. Last card on our movers and shakers list here this morning is Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, the card that makes every single thing a swamp. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other types. Rakdos mid-range are playing it. Mono black coffers playing it. Before we go today, I'm gonna have to play the happy birthday song for MTG Gaming Bob on the outro.
It's your birthday today. It's your birthday today. Rock and roll and celebrate. Celebrate, we lose control and you cut the cake. Cut that the night is yours. Destiny awaits. Oh, wait, so share toast with your closest mates. It's your birthday today. Bob! It's your birthday today. Bob! Grab your goodie bags. Open your gifts. Blow out your candles. Bob!
I want to thank each and every one of you folks for joining. New subscribers, Brandon, Carl, MTG Gaming Bob. I hope you have a great birthday. Glad you could join us. I'm glad I get to say hey to you today because it's a beautiful day out there. Wherever you are, wherever you got Brody with you in the morning, hey, thank you for dragging me along for the ride. There's a lot of information out there. I'm just getting my feet back after a little bit of a trip down the road this weekend, but happy to be back. Happy to connect with you folks on the channel, talk a little bit of Magic Talks and some Magic the Gathering stocks, look at which cards are moving, which are moving and shaking down the list. Where are you going to park your hard-earned money or maybe your pension money? Maybe some of you folks are, you're sitting back and enjoying a Wizards of the Coast pension and, you want to make sure you can make it to, or is that pension, your Wizards of the Coast Hasbro pension, going to be enough to keep you playing at pre-release with the current cost of the things that are going up? But either way, whether you're new to Magic and you're just getting in and you're trying to figure out which cards are going to have long-term value and long-term growth, or maybe you're getting out of the game, or maybe you're somewhere in between, I want to thank each and every one of you folks for joining me, the amazing subscribers, the 200. And what's the number? The 267, because Brandon Carl has now joined us. Give a warm welcome to Carl. Brandon Carl, thanks for joining us here this morning. I appreciate you all for joining. We'll see you all again tomorrow for a little bit of morning Magic stocks and some morning Magic talks. Talk to you all real soon. Let me leave you with this one here. Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they crack each other up. All right. I'm out of here. I'll take you all tomorrow. Have a piece of birthday cake and enjoy an epic happy birthday, Bob. We'll talk to you again later. Bye.